Good day, Las Vegas, and welcome back to Vegas Vibes, giving you a peek at what's groovin' and brewin' in the music, pageantry, live production, and fascinating scenes in the city that never sleeps. And I'm your host, Esmeralda Padilla-Gould. I would like to thank the avid viewers of Vegas Vibes on Vegas Live TV, ACTV, WCE TV, and BingeNetworks.tv, especially those watching on my favorite devices, Roku, Kodi, and Amazon Fire TV, and of course in my very own website, VegasVibes.us. Please continue to support my show and tell your friends to like Vegas Vibes on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So far this year, I have revealed to you what I've learned about TV hosting and about singing and composing songs, and my very first venture into the world of pageantry. Now, what I'm about to reveal to you may shock even my own friends, that I had a gift early on in my life which I never really pursued because I was kind of afraid, and that's having a third eye. Some people call it a sixth sense or a psychic ability. My guest today is a licensed medium in the state of Nevada, a chaplain and grief counselor. Let's find out later how having psychic abilities aid Dr. Corinne Cherek with her grief counseling service. When Vegas Vibes returns, I'll take you to the mysticity of the psychic world. So, don't go away. Welcome back. Las Vegas remains to host the best and the biggest resorts in the globe, and some of the best entertainers in the world live right here in this great city. It's bursting in the scenes with creative juices, and those mega live productions can't forever be parked in the shade. So now that millions of Americans have already been vaccinated, we're expecting the end of this pandemic soon. Do you know that there are hundreds upon hundreds of registered and licensed psychics in Las Vegas? While most of them are classified as artists, a few have studied deep into the science of metaphysics. But what is a psychic? Wikipedia says that a psychic is a person who claims to use extrasensory perception, or ESP, to identify information hidden from the normal senses, particularly involving telepathy or clairvoyance, or who performs acts that are apparently inexplicable by nature laws. Although many people believe in psychic abilities, the scientific consensus is that there is no proof of the existence of such powers, and describes the practice as pseudoscience. The word psychic is also used as an adjective to describe such abilities. Wow, if there's no proof, it's kind of hard to be a science, right? That's mystifying. And how does this relate to metaphysics? Well, it says metaphysics is the branch of philosophy that examines the fundamental nature of reality, including the relationship between mind and matter, between substance and attributes, and between potentiality and actuality. Another wow for me. That's why I did not pursue my gift of having a third eye, because I knew there would be so many things I had to learn and research on to even scratch the surface. I decided to be a TV host so I could interview people in the know. Stand by for my interview with Dr. Corinne Cherek when Vegas Vibes returns. Welcome back to Vegas Vibes. On Vegas Vibes, I feature amazingly talented people from many walks of life who contribute to making Las Vegas a unique global brand. And on that note, here with us today is Miss Corinne Cherek, a doctor of philosophy, master in metaphysics. Dr. Cherek specializes in transpersonal counseling who practices here in Las Vegas. She's one special lady. I say that because she has psychic abilities that I want to tap into, help me tap into that later. And the founder of Grace from Grief, working on a personal passion project right now that we will find out later from her, and is about to publish her book. Please welcome Miss Corinne Cherek. Hello, welcome to Vegas Vibes.
Hi, thank you, Esmeralda. It's great to be here.
Well, I'm so glad to have you. I've heard so much about you, and it's so impressive. Please tell us, what exactly do you do?
So currently, I have Grace from Grief. It's a private practice where I do grief and spiritual counseling in the community of Kayenta Therapy in the Summerlin. So I see lots of people from firefighters to anybody who might be grieving the death of a child, loss of their job, loss of their home. With everything going on today, people are experiencing loss on just about every level.
So what factor contributed to that? What led you to that way of living?
Well, a couple things. First, in 1996, I experienced my third cancer, and I did some alternative modalities here in Las Vegas. I was from Nebraska and had moved here in 1992, so I had met some unique Native American people and also a doctor of osteopathic, and I worked with them, and I went in for surgery, and the cancer was all gone. So I really had what we consider a miracle happen, and of course that changed my life forever. So that was in 1996, and what happened after that, within a few months, my psychic abilities, which I always had a little bit of, they went on steroids. So literally I had people from the other side, people who had passed on, start to come to me in my dreams regularly. And I thought I was losing my mind. So I went to a psychiatrist, Dr. Raymond Moody, who was the head of the consciousness department at UNLV at the time, and told him what was going on. Mm-hmm. And he said, there's nothing wrong with you. You've been gifted. You can get a license and work as a medium. I didn't even know what a medium was. So I was raised Catholic and was in metaphysics, but I certainly didn't understand that level of psychic ability. So I literally spent 2 years getting a license and worked as a licensed medium for 2 years, medium psychic, and then my daughter and granddaughter died unexpectedly 6 days apart in 2002, and that's when my journey to work with grief primarily took a turn. And so I had to stop working. As you can imagine, I couldn't see clients at that time, and I really was in a deep, dark abyss of grief for a long time. And during that time, I had another friend who lost a child, and as we were talking, she said, Corinne, you naturally work with people and talk to them about their grief. Why don't you become a chaplain? She was working in hospice, and she said, why don't you work with death? And I decided to do that so I could make peace with death, because I really was lost. I didn't know how I was going to continue living, let alone working. And so that began my journey to become a board certified chaplain so I could work with hospice. So I went back to school. I had a degree in psychology, so I went back and received a degree in metaphysics, a bachelor's, then my master's in metaphysics, which required a thesis, and I also did an internship at a counseling center, and then eventually I decided to pursue my PhD in transpersonal counseling. It took me years to heal because I was so devastated by the loss. That was my only child and my only grandchild, and my daughter's father, my first husband, had died when she was 7, so we already had
death in the family.
Exactly. And so when we moved to Vegas, it was to have a new start. My brother lived here. We wanted a fresh start. And so we were hoping for that. So for 10 years, we had a really good life. She finished high school, started college, and decided to become a massage therapist and a Reiki practitioner, which is a healing modality. So her life was great. And anyway, her story is another story, but it was completely unexpected when they died. And so for me, here I was healed of cancer, and 6 years later, my daughter and granddaughter died. So I struggled for a while with my own beliefs, and that's why I decided to study metaphysics, because I was looking for answers. And I didn't want to hear God needed another angel, or they're in a better place, which I do believe is true, but it hurt my heart to hear that. So over the years of my trying to heal, I traveled the world studying different, like the Holocaust, or the French Revolution, or the Civil War, different areas of our history where death occurred, so I could understand how did they survive? How did somebody survive the Holocaust? It was an atrocity. And that's when I started to wake up and realize that I could be okay no matter what, that I could somehow survive these unexpected deaths. And that led me to my private practice, which I've been in for the last 2 years.
First of all, I'm so sorry to hear about your daughter
Thank you.
and your granddaughter. But I'm so glad that you have been healed from your cancer.
Yes. Yes. So I was healed of cancer in '96, and then I used food to cope with my feelings. I consider myself an addict. I don't touch alcohol, sugar, or flour anymore because those things made me truly sick and I just couldn't think clearly. When I went off flour, sugar, and alcohol, July 4th of 2016, my life changed completely, where whatever was left of the fog of grief and the fog of my addiction, it lifted up and I was able to see things so much clearer. And within a few months, my heart healed. And I couldn't believe that I woke up and my heart wasn't hurting anymore. My grief is literally gone.
Is that when you decided to create Grace from Grief?
Yes. So I decided to finish my PhD because that's a long process to write a dissertation. And my dissertation is called Discovering Spirituality in the Abyss of Sin City. And at the time I was writing my dissertation, I was the HR manager for Granite Gaming Group, which owned Glitter Gulch, the Last Gentleman's Club downtown, Mermaids in the Bayou. And when I was working there, I was watching all walks of life come through our establishments. And I have no judgment on anybody about anything. But I was a board certified chaplain working with the Gentleman's Club. So people, the dancers, thought that was pretty cool that I would work there and be in a good space with them. And it was through seeing that we're so much more alike than different as human beings. If we look for the where
Goodness.
we're alike, yes, the good in each other. And that was really the beginning of, I had left the abyss of grief and then I was in the abyss of Sin City is what I called it, only to find out that I had my own addiction, and it was food. And who would think food's an addiction, right? But it affects the brain the same way drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, any other addiction does. So in that healing, when that healing happened, my whole life changed. And that's why we're here today. So Grace from Grief, I think that was founded in 2019. So 2 years ago, maybe 3, doesn't matter. But when that came about, I thought, how profound is it that I have this full circle experience, that the most horrible loss of my life would bring me to one of my greatest gifts, to be able to walk with someone else who has lost a child as well and let them know, I don't know what their journey is going to be, but if they choose to heal and if they're open and if it's God's will, they can. So I want to give hope to people, and I walk with them. I walk beside them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how COVID has impacted your business? I'm sure everyone, a lot of people are going through a lot of grief, stress, and
Yes.
so many challenges going on right now.
When COVID initially hit in March, of course, everything shut down. We shut down with everybody else, and I switched to telecounseling, and a lot of clients didn't like it. They wouldn't.
Because they want a one-on-one, face-to-face.
They want face-to-face, yes. So initially it was a big hit, and then my business took off. It was the best year I've ever had. It's the busiest year I've ever had in my life as far as work. So I'm grateful again that I have the place I work. We can social distance appropriately, and I'm very busy, and I'm grateful, eternally grateful for that.
Based on your experience, I'm so curious, you've talked to a lot of people going through grief, but what's the fastest way to cope? Is there a special pill that you can take?
If there was, we wouldn't be sitting here because I would have found it and I would be selling it. No, we have to go through our grief, and for some people, it will take whatever it takes. Everyone grieves differently, just like everybody loves differently. And so what I find, yes, there are homeopathic remedies. Yes, there are other techniques. EMDR, it's a rapid eye movement. Hypnotherapy. There's different modalities that therapists and trauma specialists use to help people. And it depends. How did they die? Was it traumatic? Was it even if somebody has a disease where they've been dying for several years, it doesn't matter what age they are, but especially if it's like a child, you don't know how you're going to feel till the person actually dies. And so everyone is different. And so we treat them, I treat them custom, like what's their background, what's their belief system. I do find that people who have a belief system of any kind, that helps. If they're any kind of recovery or on a spiritual path, that helps. If they're of service and if they try to get outside themselves a little bit, that can help. But initially, people go in shock pretty hard. So it depends what the loss is. And then a lot of people like myself are having multiple losses, and that's pretty hard to come up from. You get hit hard once, you take a deep breath and you try to go forward, but when it's bad, 1, 2, 3 in a row. And I have one person who lost 5 members of her family. So she is, of course, under medical supervision as well, which some people need. They need medication or some type of medical intervention.
To be able to cope. with that.
So there isn't a fast track, if that's what you're asking. But I do think that if we, first of all, talking or finding someone to talk to privately or a group helps. With COVID, it's changed things because we aren't allowed to have groups right now. But there are online groups, and there's a lot of support. So there's so many ways to get help.
Your psychic abilities, how are you able to use that with what you do?
Good question. So when I was younger, I always had dreams, premonitions, and I would feel things. A lot of people are empathic, maybe you are too, where you just know what someone else is feeling. So I had that before. But after the healing from cancer, like I said, it just exacerbated, and I would know. And so what I do when I work with people is I always pray or set an intention before I work with them and just allow whatever's to come up. And for years, when I had my license initially, it would be very loud, like, Corinne, call Esmeralda, tell her something. And today,
yes, what can you tell me right now? I'm
Good
curious.
things are coming your way. That's what I can
Thank you.
tell you. So your life is about to change like it has never changed before, and I mean that from my heart.
Oh, thank you.
So I can tell you that with confidence, and that's what I've learned today. Since my healing the last few years, everything comes in very subtle now, and I think that's true for other people as well, where instead of this very clear message, like I can hear a voice, it's just a knowing, or the words just flow through my mouth. They just come out. So one time, let me think of something I can share that wouldn't be breaking confidence. Okay. My daughter loved Tupac Shakur. Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Okay. He died in 1996 in September. I was healed of cancer that May. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know anything about him, but she adored him. He was plastered all over her walls, and when he died, she was devastated. But I really didn't understand him. A couple years ago, I met somebody connected to him, and they asked me to read a book that their husband wrote about him. And I read this book, and Tupac came to me in a dream, and he kissed me on the cheek. And I thought, oh my gosh, I hope my daughter, her name's Jessica, I hope Jess can see this. She would be so excited that Tupac's kissing Mama, on the cheek. And so the next time that person came into my office, here came Tupac, his bodyguard, my daughter, and this young man who had just died who was also a Tupac fan. And his parents were my daughter's best friends from high school. I was able to call them and tell them that I did see their son and that he was okay. Like, that was such a gift for me and for them, of course for his parents and family, but something like that has never happened before nor since. That was one time, but 4 people from the other side came in my office, and she could feel her husband, my client could feel her husband, but she couldn't see them. I could see them, and they were smiling and they were happy. And so since then, I've had a lot of people come that are connected to Tupac, and somehow I think he's sending them to me. What's the chances?
Right.
He's been gone for a very long time. But he was a very spiritual person, and people are finding that out. I think he's being resurrected, or maybe just re-resurrected, where what his contributions were when he was alive, they're going to research now as we're going through this major worldwide pandemic. People are looking for help, and so there's one example. Let me think. Does that give you a good feel? Okay.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, on a lighter note.
Yes.
You're coming up with a book. Would you like to talk about the
Yes.
book?
So initially I was writing a book when in 2002 I had started my medium practice. My daughter was pregnant. I was getting remarried, and I was writing a book, and it was called Go Forward, because I had gotten stuck earlier in my life. So that was the title of the book. But when the girls died, I stopped writing. So I wasn't sure if I would resurrect that, but the book I'm writing today is Grace from Grief, The Ultimate Gift. I know when people go through a loss, I think the thought of getting grace from grief would probably not be the first thought you would have. But for me, that's exactly what happened. The grace that I live today, the way I feel my life is full of synchronicity, like meeting you. And I look at that today, in a million years, Esmeralda, I never dreamed that I would feel whole and complete, that I would feel healed, that I would be happy. I thought I would be a grieving mom the rest of my life, and that would have been okay, but I'm grateful that wasn't the plan for me. So.
Well, I can't wait to get hold of that book.
Yes.
And right now you're working on a personal passion project,
Yes.
a screenplay supposedly, but now it's going to be like a television show.
Correct. So initially, I was working with my executive producer, and I was hosting workshops where we had healers, psychics, mediums from all around the country come, and we were putting on workshops, and with the pandemic we had to stop. So then it shifted to a screenplay, and it was going to be, I'll leave that for later because we will probably proceed with that later, but it was going to be a spiritual tone, but dealing with the current events that are going on today. So with COVID, one of the actors came down with COVID, and out of respect, and of course the director, we all agreed it was the right thing to do, was to cancel the project at this time. But then my brilliant executive producer, Tim Chismar, who you also know,
Yes.
He came up with the idea of doing a television show. And so, do you want to speak about that?
Please do so.
Okay. So what we'd like to do is have the two of us go out and meet different people and just see what happens. You with your expertise and mine with my expertise. And as we meet with people, see what they're going through, how we can be of support to them. There are so many people. Not everybody's hurting, not everybody's grieving right now. We're all experiencing the effects of the pandemic, but some of us, our lives are taking off. Our gifts are coming out, innovation, creativity. We've just shifted to the age of Aquarius as of December 21st, 2020. And so all of us have the opportunity to have our lives change immensely. The most important thing I would say for all of us is to go inside. I personally believe that we're all made in the image and likeness of God, whatever God is to you, good orderly directions, spirit, creator, whatever. But the answers are inside of us. And if we just listen to that still small voice, the one that's saying positive things, that's the one, that's how we're guided to fulfill our life's purpose. And I do believe everybody has at least one life's purpose. So when Tim came up with the idea of a TV show, he introduced us, and now we're sitting here together today.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
I still couldn't believe that this is happening right now. But just like you, I leave it all. I surrender it all to God.
Yes.
And hopefully with God's grace, it would really happen.
Yes. And my favorite word these days is synchronicity, and that's exactly what happened, because you were going to be part of the other project, and I hadn't met you yet, and then once we met and found out we had similar goals, it was like, oh my gosh, here we go.
And I just love your good vibes.
Thank you. As you too. Back at you. Yes. Yes, thank you.
Well, I wish we had more time, but please, if there's anything that you could advise anyone, relating to this pandemic, what would it be?
It would be to take the best self-care they can, to take a deep breath, find out what works for you. If you need to listen to the news or you want to be updated on things, do that, but at a minimum. Do not be inundated with things that might bring you down. Exercise, of course, eating healthy, self-care, 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 and then spiritually, go inside, trust your higher power, whatever that might be for you, and learn to listen to those cues and that synchronicity that comes up. A lot of times we'll negate our intuition, and it usually hurts us. It's listening to it that will take us there. But if they have a faith or a philosophy or a belief, delve into that. If they don't, they might consider looking for something. Some people go to yoga, Tai Chi, Pilates, go walking, hiking. There's all kinds of ways to commune with spirit, whatever. To me, everybody can agree that love is a power greater. We fall in love with people. We don't necessarily have control over that. If we just trust love and we're the source of love, I think it could take us all to a much better place, and maybe we really could have peace on earth like we hope.
Have you already found your purpose in life?
Yes.
And what is it?
It is sharing my experience, strength, and hope, and being able to walk with people, whether it's doing something creative and fun or working beside them in their grief and in their spiritual journey. And the spiritual journey, it can be difficult, but it can be a whole lot of fun as well. So my passion is to help people realize who they are, wake up, and experience life the way it was intended.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Dr. Corinne Cherek, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here on Vegas Vibes, and it's such a wonderful feeling to know that I'll be working with you with the new passion project, and I wish you all the best in your current and future endeavors.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you as well. Thank you so much.
Catch me again next week as I feature another amazing personality here on Vegas Vibes. Welcome back. Time really flies when you're having a grand time. Promise to join me again on this same fabulous Vegas Vibes channel. And to all our global viewers out there, let me remind you that Las Vegas is not just about the world-renowned Strip or the famous Fremont Street experience in the vibrant downtown district. It has real people, a lot of them musicians, live entertainers, and those involved in the world of pageantry, and to the people here in the Valley who work hard each day to make Las Vegas a global brand. I would like to feature you and your cool story right here on Vegas Vibes, either in the studios or online via Zoom. If you believe that's you, please email now at vegasvibes1@gmail.com. Before I go, I would like to thank my wardrobe sponsor, Anne Fontaine, located at the Forum Shops of Caesar's Palace. Anne Fontaine is now open for business as well. You may call Miss Anna Billings at 702-733-6205 to make an appointment. And now for my favorite segment, the Vegas Vibes Closet. Yes, it features an intricate selection of health and beauty products which I personally use. And this week I have for you Fenty Beauty Moroccan Spice Eyeshadow Palette. It's no mirage. The Moroccan Spice Eyeshadow Palette combines everything you need to take you from hot, steamy days to sultry, smoky nights with its rainbow of 16 richly pigmented shades and finishes designed for all skin tones. From smoky bolds to spicy brights and savory neutrals, Moroccan Spice serves up a dash of matte, satin, pearl, metallic, and shimmer finishes to satisfy every craving. Savor the feels and flavors of Moroccan with Fenty Beauty's brand new longwear eyeshadow formulas. Each rich velvety smooth shade in the Moroccan Spice eyeshadow palette is weightless, buildable, and stays put without creasing for the sultriest looks that last. Check it out, ladies. Below is the link if you wish to learn more about it or purchase it without any delay. Follow Vegas Vibes on Facebook and Instagram, or check out vegasvibes.us for updates and announcements. Once again, I'm your host, Esmeralda Padilla-Gould. Thank you for watching. Mwah!
This has been a presentation of VATV.